trying to get, I go to AutoZone, I get the tool, it doesn't work. I go online, I get another tool that's coming back, and then I've been trying to do it for 3 days, but the mosquitoes kept killing me. I stopped at Bell Time.
Good evening. It is 7 p.m. on July 12th, 2021. I'd like to, after 483 days, call the Lansing City Council to order in Lansing City Hall and ask that the clerk please call the roll.
All right, and you don't have to say where you are from because you're not remote. Councilmember Betts.
Present.
Councilmember Dunbar.
Present.
Councilmember Garza.
Present.
Councilmember Hussein.
Here.
Councilmember Jackson. Councilmember Spatafor.
Present.
Councilmember Spitzley.
She's gone. She's absent.
Councilmember Wood.
Here.
There are 7 members physically present at quorum. Councilmember Spitzley is absent.
Council members, please note, Councilmember Spitzley did request an absence this evening, so we will vote to excuse her at the end of the agenda. Next up, Mr. Clerk.
We are to meditation and Pledge of Allegiance.
All right, Councilmember Wood?
Thank you. Councilmember Spitzley asked if I would please recognize Patsy Watson. Patsy has had a dance studio in South Lansing for a number of years. Councilmember Spitzley and her sisters have fond memories of learning to tap dance and ballet in her basement studio in South Lansing, and then she later located in the Logan Center. Patsy's funeral will be on Tuesday, July 13th at South Lansing Christian Church, and her family will receive family and friends beginning at 12 p.m. Tuesday at the church. So if we could remember Patsy and her family in our prayers.
Thank you, Councilmember Wood. Other council members? Mr. Mayor? Mr. Clerk?
Thank you. I'd like us to keep in our thoughts Brian Trahey, who passed away last week. He and his wife have our engineering business on the east side of Lansing. Great loss to our community. His funeral will be this Friday at St. Mary Cathedral.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Would the council please keep in their thoughts during our moment of meditation Patsy Watson and Brian Trahey and their families.
You have for your approval the printed council proceedings of May 17th and June 21st.
Thank you. Would the clerk, Mr. Vice President?
Sure, I would move the printed council proceedings as presented.
The proceedings from the 17th of May and the 21st of June are before us. Any further discussion on those? Seeing none, would the clerk please call? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, and then that takes us to comments by council members and the city clerk.
Yep. Consideration of late items.
Oh,
Do you have a late item?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Councilmember Dunbar.
Yeah, thank you. I believe each one of you has a printed copy at the dais that Sherry printed out. This is the resolution that came over from the county for us to move on. Obviously, after the discussion that was had online.
Councilmember, the discussion can wait till we approve the suspension of the rule. We had to do suspend Rule 9.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure people knew what they were voting on, but that's okay. This is resolution to urge the administration to fund the supplemental balance needed to start Advanced Peace operating this year. So I move to add the late item.
Okay, the motion before us is to suspend Council Rules number 9 to consider late items. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Nay.
Aye.
The nays have it.
Okay, then we are to comments by council members and the city clerk.
Council members looking to make comment this evening?
I do, there it is.
Councilmember Wood.
Thank you. Thank you, President Spatafore. Councilmember Spitzley also asked that I tell people about the second annual community fellowship that is happening at 505 Seymour. It's Saturday, July 17th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. This event will have free live performances, free COVID vaccines, free clothes and shoes, free kids activities, and free food. Everything is free, and there will be local resources there, and this is an outdoor event. And again, everyone is invited. So this is, again, at 505 Seymour in Lansing on the west side. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilmember Vice President Hussein?
So Councilwoman Spitzley was busy. She asked me to announce something as well. There will be a free, or I should say, free COVID vaccinations administered at the Boys and Girls Club. That is at 4315 Pleasant Grove Road, and that is in South Lansing. That'll be this Wednesday, July 14th, from 12:30 to 4:30. So again, this is a free service. I do believe it's available to anyone 12 and over, and it will take place this Wednesday from 12:30 to 4:30. The second announcement is unique to me. I am going to start to host again in-person constituent contact meetings, and we're going to start that in August. So the second Saturday, August, 10 to 12 noon. We're going to try something a little bit different. In years prior, we have met in August and September. We've met at the Fire Station 6 at Pleasant Grove and Jolly, because the community room at the Elfrida Schmidt Center is not open for those 2 months. We have struggled with capacity. Candidly, we typically get anywhere from about 25 to 50 people. So that's a struggle. But the second piece is I want to try maybe a couple open-air meetings. There are still people that have not been vaccinated, some people that are still concerned. I certainly want them to have the opportunity to come out. But I'd like, if at all possible, to also support some of our South Lansing businesses. And so I am going to work with the owners of 2 South MLK businesses, 517 Coffee, as well as Wing Heaven Sports Haven, to see if we can't have some open-air meetings in their parking lots. And as always, I will furnish coffee and donuts, and if we're at Wing Heaven, maybe some appetizers of some sort in addition to the coffee. But I think it's a fantastic way to get folks out and supporting some of those awesome business owners that are investing in Southwest Lansing at a time when maybe it's not so easy to invest. So I will certainly ensure that some information is coming to folks as we make, I should say, solidify some of those meeting dates. Not dates, but locations. And so if you would like information, certainly I'm very active on my political page in terms of Facebook, but I also send out regular emails. And so if you'd like to receive those emails, you can email me at adam.hussein@lansingmi.gov to be added to our email list. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Councilmember Dunbar, then Jackson.
Thank you. Couple things. First of all, the vote that we just took to deny addition of this as a late item, I want to make it clear, I mean, I think we all got this in our email as well. The county has to have a certain amount of money committed to start Advanced Peace. And there was a component of Advanced Peace when we funded and the county funded that was for grant funding. And they fell short $70,000, which the County Board of Commissioners is doing a resolution that says they will come up with 35 grand contingent on the city coming up with 35 grand. If we don't do this jointly, the program doesn't start this year. So I understand, like, we don't have the ability to do a budget appropriation outside of the budget process, but this is a resolution basically asking the administration to please allocate the $35,000 needed to get this program up and moving, which honestly, even after this last week, with the amount of gunfire we've had and the amount of fatalities we've had. I mean, I don't understand why folks would vote down a resolution that just, it's just requesting, please fund this so that we can get moving. So there's my piece on that. Second, I saw today that we had gotten an email with a voicemail attached to it, and that staff thought to send that over to the police department under the assumption that it might have been a threat. I listened to the email. I understand why it could be construed that way, and I understand why it was sent over there. I'm disturbed by the response that we got from the interim chief, which says, I have to point out, now the person who sent this message, the message says, I'm upset with the amount of prostitutes and drug addicts in this town, and it said something to the point of, watch out, harm will come to you at the city, something like that. It was very generalized. It wasn't directed at anybody specifically, but I understand why staff would send that to the police. It says in here, I have to point out that drug addiction and prostitution are two of the ordinances recently removed. Okay, that is just factually incorrect, because we didn't remove any ordinances for policing drug addiction or prostitution, and frankly, that's not what this was referred for. It was referred for the potential threat. And he goes on to say, for this to get sent to us doesn't seem to acknowledge this, meaning council took away some ordinances. Councilmember Jackson, if you want to pop in on this, you can. That were not what he's saying here. This is a very difficult directive, he says, to our folks, since we have to respect what the council passes. What the council passed was we removed very, very minor offenses that were being treated as felonies and used to perpetuate incarceration on people that are targeted by police. What this was sent over to the police chief for was to look into a potential threat against the city. And for the response to be that enforcing this puts us at risk of additional criticism, he's not even addressing the fact that this was a threat. He's saying we don't have the tools to address drug addiction and prostitution because you removed those ordinances. And so that makes me think we have to do some education of the folks at the police department to understand what it is that we actually did and how it is that they can actually enforce. Because there are a lot of folks that are wishing that there was enforcement on a lot of different things that they're not moving on. So, maybe there could be some type of a tete-a-tete with the new police chief and just explain what exactly the laws are and aren't that he has control to do, like to enforce, and looking into a credible threat, if that is, against the city is one of them. Not to hide behind, penalizing the council and not taking a stance because we took some laws off the books. So I was really put off by that response, and I hope to God somebody sits down and explains, what we did and what we didn't do, because I think he's got some confusion about that. Thank you.
Councilmember Jackson?
Thanks. Just a few areas. First, to piggyback on Councilwoman Dunbar's comments. Yeah, I mean, I just saw this kind of before I came up here, and it is disturbing to think that we were putting out a possible threat, like somebody said, watch out, may do harm, with like an email address and maybe a phone number to go with it, I'm not sure. But then to have that like twist around and say, well, actually, we can't enforce prostitution and drug use, when really you can, because prostitution's still illegal and so is possession of drugs. And a police officer, as the intern police should know, can go and talk to anybody suspected of committing a crime and just talk to them. So I don't know why we would get pinned as them not to be being able to enforce that. But that's not the point. The point is, it sounds like there was a threat made and it's just putting it on the radar, but then to have an unsolicited response in that way is, I'm also concerned. So I just wanted to echo that. But the advanced piece late item vote is also a little bit concerning to me. So I've passed and said yes to late items for a noise ordinance, a late extension of somebody doing construction because it's that time of year. I'm sure there's been some other little petty things that were late items, not as serious as stemming gun violence in Lansing, which everybody has said is a priority at this table, in the community, and watching at home. Everybody says it's a priority. So to think that there's something that got through the cracks where the city needs to come up with, for one, $35,000, and then maybe something in the future saying, but we agree to fund the extra $142,000 needed in the next 2 years, just to not be able to consider that and get this moving now, knowing that, one, I don't know who read this, so I'm assuming that some people who voted no didn't read it, but to know that the county already put their funds in to get this moving, and it's contingent upon Lansing finding $35,000, is one, and two, that we want to get this program started by October 1st, and that's a deadline, and we are already locked into paying however much it was. So to think that we're not interested in saying, and it's not even saying, Mayor, you must do this. It's saying, we as council got your backs to do whatever it takes to make this amendment happen. So, yeah, when it was all, 2 to 5 or however many people voted to not do a late item, I'm a little bit surprised, and I almost thought it was a mistake. So I just want to put those comments out there as well.
Councilmember Wood.
First, I want to address the comments of Councilmember Dunbar about the comments from Chief Sosby. Yes, I was a little concerned with his first answer, but I think you also need to understand that there was additional emails where he said that they were investigating it, that they had a number that they were looking into, and they were following up on it. So it wasn't as if there was none. And if you read your chain of emails, you'll find all of that information in it instead of just taking the first part of that. And again, I have said to the city attorney's office on more than one occasion that when council makes action here, part of that action then needs to make sure that they're having training for the police department. Now, on the second portion with the advanced piece, we're all sitting here. The mayor is here. He's seeing the emails. He knows that there's a need for additional funding. That's something that he can work through. We are, again, cannot make the appropriation with this. No matter how you look at this resolution, and even the changes to this, it's making a commitment. It's making a commitment that we're going to come up with these additional dollars so that they can move forward. And I'm not willing to do that until we first have given them $250,000, and we don't know where that's going. So for me, I did read this, Brian. I know what it says. I've read it inside and out. So my vote was an informed vote. It was a no.
Anyone who else has spoken? No. Anyone who hasn't spoken? Okay. I'd like to address that as well. I did follow up with the chief as well, and we are seeing that they're investigating the threat that was private until this evening. As far as the motion to add a late item, this is not a resolution. It is a email chain with words in it that look like a resolution. It came to us at 2 o'clock this afternoon. I've spent the last week and a half talking with the person who sent this to us, who is not a member of the city council, about the process that we would observe to take a look at this. It's not a vote against this resolution. It's a vote against sidestepping that progress after asking several times to please respect the process the city council has. My vote was an informed vote as well, and I stand by it. I stand by funding the Advanced Peace Initiative. In fact, I've had several conversations with the mayor about doing so. I suggest you pick up the phone as well. He's right there. So with that, Mr. Clerk, do you have any comments?
Thank you, President Spatafor. I do just want to take a moment and remind folks that there is a city primary election coming up in about 3 weeks and 1 day, if my math is correct. Still time to get an absentee ballot. My office is open weekdays, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Until 7 o'clock on Wednesdays. At the Wednesday late hour, 2 hours, is only at our South Washington location. And we will also be open the Saturday and Sunday immediately preceding the election. The polls will be open on Tuesday, August 3rd from 7 a.m. until 8 o'clock p.m. For most of you, it's your regular polling place. For those whose normal polling place is at the Henry North School on the south side, you're being moved because of school construction to Gardner Middle School. And with that, she has been here for several virtual council meetings, but I do want to introduce our intern for this summer for council meetings, Nicole Lynn in the back. If you want to stand up and wave. She's here to assist the members of the public in getting signed up for public comment and help answer various things and guide through the process. And she also assists in my office in preparation of the agenda and the minutes. So welcome, Nicole. Thank you. And with that, we are to community event announcements. If there's anyone in the audience with a community event, we'll give you up to 1 minute to tell us the time, place, purpose, and definition of your event.
This on? Thank you.
Yes.
I would like to invite you all to an undisclosed destination at an undisclosed time of all the young men that will die over the next 2 to 3 months because you all did not just approve the resolution that I'm clearly looking at here. That's not just an email chain. It's whereas resolution. So I would like to invite you all to their funerals. I'll be there. So while we're up here playing
Mr. Lynn, this
propaganda
is not
games,
time for that comment.
and while you're
Mr.
getting as
Lynn,
upset as you are
you're
at
out of
somebody for
order,
bringing this
Mr.
to
Lynn.
attention, I invite you all to their funerals. Thank you.
Any community event announcements?
Good evening. This Sunday between 1 and 2:30 at the Fratcher Memorial Garden inside Mount Hope Cemetery, the Friends of Lansing's Historic Cemeteries is hosting an open to the public and free picnic in the cemetery. If you'd like to bring your own picnic items, you're welcome to do so. If not, we're providing Arby's sliders and chips and cookies and pop and waters, all individually wrapped for your safety. So again, that's on Sunday from 1 to 2:30 at the Fratcher Memorial Garden in Mount Hope Cemetery. Free, open to the public.
Thank you. And I see we have at least one more.
Good evening, Council. Welcome back. I'm here tonight. I want to share some information. The Eastside Neighborhood Organization, and I have copies for you if that's allowed, is putting on a summer festival to honor our Eastside businesses that have been struggling for the past year and a half. Our event will be August 27th and 28th. We're asking the city to close down Marshall to Foster. We're going to have a car show, things for kids to do, and having the businesses just come out into the street. So we hope that you will come out and enjoy the event with us, and I will be contacting you for extra help. Thank you.
Thank you. And I see no other community event announcements, so I'll announce that now is the time we're coming up to the deadline for registration for comment on legislative matters. And legislative matters includes on our agenda items noted as items 3 through 11 on the agenda. That is the blue sign-in sheet, and we have switched to individual sign-in forms so that we can help the process along, so that folks, if they need to, can sit down while they're completing the form. And I have some already, but we will give you up to another 3 minutes to get the blue form for legislative matters to Nicole in the back. And with that, we are to the mayor's comments.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk, Mr. President. Good to see you all in person again. First, I want to congratulate the staff of the City of Lansing and all of our residents for coming out for a wonderful July 4th parade. If you weren't there, it was great. It was exciting to be out in person. It was really nice to see everybody. The fireworks the next night were also great. Fireworks 3 nights in a row. So it was nice to see people out and active here in the City of Lansing. So that's great. And we certainly weren't able to do that last year. Wanted to recognize that programming has begun again at the community centers. We certainly have a focus on youth activities and are working with community organizations, but anybody who wants to see that programming, please go to the Lansing Living Guide, which is online on our Parks Department. I want to remind everybody, especially I know Councilman Hussein is interested, that our South MLK Corridor Improvement Authority has an opening for a fellow through the Community Economic Development Association of Michigan website. So if you're interested, or if you know anyone interested in working on the corridors in Lansing, especially the South MLK corridor, please apply. Our Citizen Academy is now open, and applications are online. That will close August 15th, so we're really excited to get that going again this year in person. I want to put a plug in for the Ingham Sunrise Program. All council members, I know you all work with small businesses. The Ingham Sunrise Program is a small business program. They're giving away $11 million. We work very closely with them. Certainly, we gave a lot of money away, and now they're going to give a lot of money away. We expect that being Lansing, a lot of our folks here in Lansing will get that money from the county. So please push all of your small businesses to Ingham County for the Sunrise Program. The application closes July 30th. There's also technical assistance to help small businesses fill out the application. We are getting it to all of our small businesses, but I know many of you have contacts as well, so I hope everybody will push that out and get folks to contribute. Good news, those who are watching our Save Lansing program, we know that we have some churches that give money towards the Save Lansing program for kids who are going to college. Plymouth Congregational Church is a new community champion contributing some collections to our kids, and they've already dropped off their first contribution, so we appreciate that from Plymouth Congregational. Our Public Service Department is hosting 2 in-person public meetings for the one-way to two-way street conversion project that's coming up. It will be on Thursday, July 15th from 4 to 6, and then Thursday, August 12th, also from 4 to 6. Both meetings are going to be in the lobby of City Hall and are meant to provide the attendees, which is mostly the stakeholders and property owners, the opportunity to learn more about the project, review maps, ask questions, submit comments, and other things. Am I out of town?
Sorry, no, that's for sign up.
I appreciate it. That's the 3 minutes. So that will be going on. I guess I will update council on the Advanced Peace Initiative as it's come up several times. Delisa Fontaine is our connection, and she is working very closely with the county. I saw the email from Jessica Yorko on Thursday or Friday, and we are reviewing it. Certainly, I am supportive of the program, and we do not yet have a contract proposal from them, so we haven't spent any of the money yet, any of the $240,000, because we don't have a contract. And the contract will list the metrics and will list the program and who's going to be getting these dollars. So certainly we'd like to see that first before moving down the field, and we're waiting on that. I also did have a great conversation with Devon Bogan today, and I really appreciate the work he's doing, the needs that he's expecting from all of the partners. He did say that they were expecting about half the money to come from government and the other half to come from the community. So again, I want to align that with the email that we have here. So certainly reviewing all of that. We're also reviewing other entities that are out in our community doing prevention work. We have a lot of great groups doing prevention work right now that can use space, that can use more dollars for capacity. We want to make sure to support those that are doing the work right now, in addition to Advanced Peace, which will be up and running at some point. I do want to remind everybody the county doesn't put their money in until January 1st because they are in a calendar year budget. So our dollars are the first dollars in, but the county still hasn't put their money in either. So we'll continue to work with the groups here that are doing the work, whether it's space or dollars, and we will continue to review the Advanced Peace Fellowship Initiative. And that's my update on that, as it seems to have come up several times. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And we are now to public comment on legislative matters, and as I indicated, that includes items 3 through 11 on the council agenda, and the first speaker is Jim DeLine.
Jim DeLine, 2520 Harding Avenue in the city of Lansing. I'm speaking on items 6 and 7, changing the charter, putting charter changes on the November ballot. First of all, I want to thank council again. You've worked on this issue for quite a while. I was first in front of you 2 years ago introducing the item, and many of you have done your own research since then on ranked choice voting, and I appreciate that. I particularly want to thank the Office of the City Attorney, Jim Smirka, Lisa Hagan, and the staff has done an amazing job at putting resolutions before you tonight that are easy to read, that are succinct, that are totally legally solid. You've worked with the city, with the AG's office. Thank you so much. One thing I want to make very clear, again, and not just to council, but mainly to the public. We are not discussing tonight whether or not to put ranked choice voting in the city of Lansing. We are discussing tonight whether to put a charter change on the ballot in November that would bring ranked choice voting to the city of Lansing. That we're bringing something, it's a ballot change that we're talking about. If that gets on the ballot in November, I'm voting yes. I've done my research as well. And I know that in many, many cities, ranked choice voting has been incorporated and has been successful. There was a comment that this is untried. You know, actually, in Ireland, they've used ranked choice voting since 1921, 100 years. This is not untried. And in fact, not only in Ireland, but in 1973, Northern Ireland adopted ranked choice voting. When you can get Ireland and Northern Ireland to agree on something, it's got to have some value. They have used it in Australia since 1948. Cities in the United States that have used ranked choice voting have seen higher turnout. They've seen, we save money because there's no primary. They have seen less negative campaigning. They have seen somebody mentioned, well, this will put more names on the November ballot. Yeah, it will. You know, more voices, more choices. That's a good thing. Cities that have incorporated ranked choice voting have seen an increase in the number of women running for office, the increase in people of color on the ballot, the increase in people from the LGBTQ community on the ballot. It's a good thing. And what we're asking for is a vote to put this on the ballot in November. Let the people of Lansing decide whether this is right for the city of Lansing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Loretta Standaway, followed by Abby Schwartz.
Okay, on ranked choice voting, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. This strikes me as a solution looking for a problem. We have elected our people by the majority vote forever. The most votes, the person wins. And I don't see a need to change that. Your two whereases that Adam mentioned this evening, I agree 100% with his points. I was going to raise them myself. I would say take them entirely out of the resolution if you're going to do this. Eliminating the primaries, which now provide exactly the same choices that you want to provide under ranked choice voting. You give people the options to choose a first and later in the general election, a second if necessary. So you're just really confusing the voters and going to something you don't need to do. At large gets even more confusing, and we don't have any discussion as yet as to the cost of changing over the voting machines to enable ranked choice voting to occur. Second, on the primary topic of eliminating the primary, you're going to have to, according to the resolution, readjust the boundaries of the wards after the census is taken, which to me sounds very much like an opportunity for gerrymandering. We have enough real issues with voter integrity to deal with at the time. We don't need to muddy the waters with this. It's very difficult to inform voters of options pro and con on any issue that comes down the pike these days because media access is so limited. From the National Review, from the June election in the primary mayoral race in New York. As things currently stand, Eric Adams won 29.3% of the first choice votes. Maya Wiley won 20.3%. Catherine Garcia won 18.1%. and others came in below 5%. So, of course, we're currently waiting to see whether Garcia has enough votes to win the election, the one who finished third initially and was 11 points behind Adams. Let's see. Eric Adams has already put out a statement saying the way the results have been announced raise serious questions, and we don't even have a final result as yet. That's pretty predictable because, well, he got the most first choice votes by a lot. In any voting system where the guy who gets the most votes doesn't win is going to be questioned by the guy who gets the most votes. Again, I think this is a solution for a problem that doesn't exist, and we don't need it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Abby Schwartz, followed by Kyle Richard.
Hi, I'm Abby Schwartz, and I wanted to speak in favor of ranked choice voting. Discussing the primaries, our primaries have very, very low voter turnout, and so what you have is first of all, an unrepresentative sample of the electorate voting, and not very many of them voting. And I think that combining them, more people will actually have a chance to vote for the city council members and for the mayor and the clerk. I'm currently sitting at home with my absentee ballot, and I'm trying to figure out, do I need to vote strategically? Can I vote for the favorite person? And again, that would be eliminated if we had ranked choice voting, and that is a problem. And I think it drives down voter turnout, that, I can't vote for the person I really like sense. I also wanted to mention that if a person is confused or whatever, the option is always there to just vote for your first choice candidate, just like you do now. If your candidate wins, they win. If they lose, they lose, and that's the way it is now. So it's not really that much more complicated. I don't think there are very many people who have gone through, K through 12 school who don't know how to rank their choices. That we are already seeing, one of the comments was that we'd see more candidates, and I think we are already seeing a lot of candidates, like in the last presidential primaries, the Democrats in 2020, the Republicans in 2016. You've got a gazillion candidates. We already have a lot of candidates. We don't necessarily have as wide a variety, the minorities and stuff, but we're seeing a lot of candidates, and we might as well use ranked choice voting to pick the best one. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, we have Kyle Richard.
Hi there. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. For future reference, Clerk Swope, it's Richard, not Richard. I'm here to speak in favor of the charter change to put ranked choice voting for the city of Lansing, because I believe ranked choice voting is a positive evolution in democracy. And I think that it will give us better elected officials, because when you can rank your choices, you end up with people who win the election who are more agreeable to more people. And so you end up with less candidates and less officials who have large groups of people who maybe strongly disapprove of them, like our current mayor. Ranked choice voting also gives us more candidates, right? We already talked about this a little bit, but it gives people the thought that maybe I can win this, right? Right now, our current system says, let's throw money at each other, and whoever throws the most money wins. And in a ranked choice voting, that actually forces the candidates to compete with one another on the ideas, which is kind of why we're all here. So that's all I have, and I'll forfeit the rest of my time.
Thank you. And with that, we are to the consent agenda.
Is there any items on the consent agenda that need to be removed? Okay. Mr. Vice President.
All right. Tonight, the consent agenda does include 3 items. First is a liquor license approval for Lansing Shuffleboard LLC for a transfer of a Class C and new SDM liquor license at 325 Riverfront Drive. There's also a resolution of reappointment for 19 individuals to various boards and commissions, as well as a resolution dealing with authorization for use of electronic or ACH transactions. That being said, I'd move the consent agenda.
Very good. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Then we are to resolutions for action. The first item under that is the ranked choice voting ballot proposal.
Mr. Vice President.
Sure, so we discussed this quite a bit in committee of the whole. The lion's share of our public comment tonight pertain to this item. I am, because I think it's incredibly important for us to be very transparent, educational in the way we move over the next several months in the lead up to the November 2nd vote. I am going to just add a little bit of information, objective information regarding ranked choice voting. What we're looking at tonight deals with amendments to the city charter. The Lansing City Charter does determine the electoral process for the city of Lansing in terms of our elected officers. So you're looking at your at-large representatives, your ward representatives, your city clerk, as well as your mayor. What we have now is a plurality system. And we talked quite a bit about that, as well as some of our commenters tonight. And we have primary elections for those races where you have a number of candidates that exceeds twice the amount of positions that are available. Tonight, what we are being asked to do is place ranked choice voting as a potential charter amendment before the electorate on November 2nd. So this, when you look at the resolutions collectively, we're approving a maneuver, right, to get it on the ballot and then the actual ballot language. And then there's a second resolution, so I'm speaking to these collectively, but we'll move them respectively. There's a second piece that eliminates primary elections from our city charter. If you are not familiar with ranked choice voting, it does require voters to rank candidates by preference on their ballots. If a candidate wins a majority of first preference votes, he or she is declared the winner. If no candidate wins a majority of first preference votes, the candidate with the fewest first preference votes is eliminated. First preference votes casted for the failed candidate are eliminated, lifting the second preference choices indicated on those ballots. A new tally is conducted to determine whether any candidate has won a majority of the adjusted votes. The process is repeated until a candidate wins an outright majority. So again, RCV and the elimination of primary elections, for city offices is what we are looking at putting before the voters on November 2nd. We've heard a number of arguments. A number of arguments for and against were discussed as part of our committee of the whole. Most of those centered on majority support. When we look at plurality versus that 51% piece, efficiencies, voter choice, voter confusion, satisfaction, those types of things. This did pass out of committee of the whole with a couple of adjustments to the second and third whereases. We replaced this language that spoke with some conviction as if this is a superior voting method. We replaced that with it's been argued that essentially this is a superior voting method. So with that being said, I would move the first resolution, and that is pertaining to a ballot proposal for the city charter amendment for ranked choice voting for the city elections.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Councilmember Jackson?
I just want to explain that I'll be supporting our vote to let the people vote ultimately. I think that as elected officials, like, there shouldn't be too many other choices besides to let the people of Lansing educate themselves and decide whether or not they want this or not. And I think that's the main point. So yeah, I'll be supporting that, and I hope everybody else will as well.
Thank you, Councilmember Jackson. Anyone else wishing to address the body? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll? Oh, I'm sorry. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Sorry, folks. Hard habit to break. The motion passes.
We all have over a year worth of hard habits to break. So our next is the elimination of the city primary proposal.
Mr. Vice President.
Sure. So I spoke to this already. It was determined by the OCA that we would need this as well to make that first piece go through. If either one of these should fail November 2nd, then they both die, essentially. So with that being said, I would move the ballot proposal. This deals with city charter amendments for the elimination of city primary elections.
Thank you. Motion is before us. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries.
Our next item is the ratification of actions taken in the virtual meetings.
Mr. Vice President.
Sure. So in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, we did pass a resolution back in March of 2020 to provide for essentially safe public meetings. This, in addition to some emergency orders at both the local and state level, as well as amendments to the Open Meetings Act, allowed us to do that through the public health crises. However, that resolution that we passed in March of 2020 did call for us to come back when we were in person and ratify all votes that we took respectively, collectively, as a body dating back to March 16th, 2020, which I believe was our first virtual meeting. So this ratification essentially would cover the period of time between March 16th, 2020 and our last virtual council meeting, which was June 21st, 2021. So with that being said, I would move the ratification of city council actions taken at virtual meetings during the COVID-19 state of emergency.
That is a proper motion. Anyone wishing to discuss or change their votes? Mr. Jackson?
Not change my vote, but I would like the city clerk to read every single vote and what the vote was. No, I'm just kidding.
We're waiting.
Oh, you want me to do it now?
Very good. We're going to take that as snark instead of an actual motion and ask that those of you in favor please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Motion carries with that caveat.
Next item is Teamster 420 or Teamster 243 Supervisory Memorandum of Understanding.
Mr. Vice President.
Sure, same thing. We have actually two resolutions that deal with MOUs tonight. I'm going to speak about them, or speak to them, I should say, collectively, and then move them respectively. We essentially approved a resolution in Committee of the Whole that deals with a memorandum of understanding for two different bargaining groups, both Teamster 243, but one dealing with supervisory, one dealing with clerical, technical, professional unions. And these MOUs reflect a 2% wage increase that is retroactive back to February 1st, 2020. So in January, what we did as a council is we actually approved an 11-month essentially contract extension for these two groups with no changes to wages or benefits due to other CBAs that were approved thereafter, as well as some of the budget realities that the city of Lansing realized, if you will. We decided to move forward and actually grant them those 2% raises that they bypassed with the ratification of their contracts back in January of 2021. So with that being said, and this is retroactive, this was built into the fiscal year 22 budget. So with that being said, I would move the first resolution that deals with Teamsters 243 supervisory unit.
Thank you. That is a proper motion. Is there any discussion? I just will quickly say thank you to Teamsters 243 for their willingness to provide some shared sacrifice back in January. I'm glad we were able to allocate the resources to compensate them fairly for the time missed under the agreement that was given to every other union in the city. So I appreciate that. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Vice President.
Sure, so this resolution deals with the CBA agreement, the MOU, and this is for Teamsters 243 clerical, technical, professional units. With that being said, I move the resolution.
Thank you. This is a proper motion. Is there any further discussion? Kathy, did you raise your? No. Okay. Sorry. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is the Priority Health Grant.
Councilmember Wood.
Thank you, President Spatafor. What we have before us is the acceptance of the Priority Health and Fitness Grant. What this grant will be utilized for is an installation of an outdoor fitness equipment at McGuire Park over in your second ward. So just the funds would be utilized to put in a concrete pad, fitness equipment, and programming activities. The grant is in the amount of, the breakdown of the grant is $180,000. There's $50,000 that is for goods and services. There is $30,000 which will be used for the concrete pad. There's $50,000 that is for sponsorship, and then the city match is $50,000. So with that, I would move the acceptance of the grant.
That is a proper motion. Is there any discussion? Mr. Vice President.
Just very quickly, and I did this in committee as well, but I want to applaud Brett Kaczynski and our Parks, the entire Parks Department really for seeking out opportunities such as this. I'm going to be very honest with you, I was disappointed when the AARP fitness pad was built downtown. It seems everything that we do typically, of that nature is somewhere downtown or in the old historic core. So I was thrilled when I learned about this and this happening at McGuire Park, where there's a lot of accessibility, access to the river trail, et cetera. But I'd like to see us go further. As an example, in Southwest Lansing, we've built football, stadiums, we've built soccer fields, and but we have to keep going. And so I would love to see something like this done at Ben Davis, Fulton Park. I mean, the list goes on, right? So I guess this is, again, applauding the Parks Department, but saying, look, we're not done, we got to keep going. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries.
Okay, we are to speaker registration for public comment on city government-related matters. So that is the yellow sheet in the back. Please, we'll give you another 3 minutes to turn that in to Nicole in the back. And in the meantime, we are to reports of city officer boards and commissions.
Mr. Vice President.
Sure, I would move that all items be read in full and the appropriate referrals be made by you, President Spatafor.
It is proper motion. Is all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries.
Okay, we have an item from the city clerk, the Tri-County Office on Aging Annual Implementation Plan.
Committee of the Whole.
Items from the mayor, intergovernmental agreement for the Montgomery Drainage District regarding the Red Cedar development.
Committee of the Whole.
Workers' compensation settlement.
The Ways and Means Committee.
The appointment of Simone James as the First Ward Board of Water and Light member.
Committee of the Whole.
Grant acceptance, Bloomberg Philanthropies Global's Mayor Challenge.
Committee on Ways and Means.
Grant acceptance, Cities for Financial Empowerment.
The Committee on Ways and Means.
Racial Justice and Equity Plan.
That'll go to the Committee of the Whole.
The appointment of Christian James as an at-large member of the Park Board.
The Committee on City Operations.
The appointment of Damon Milton as an at-large member of the Board of Police Commissioners.
The Committee of Public Safety.
The notification of a mayoral appointment of Heather Taylor to the Lansing Housing Commission.
Placed on file.
An item from from Council President Spatafor, Social District Permit Approval for Lansing Shuffleboard LLC.
City Operations.
Communications and petitions, communication from John Addis about the city attorney's decision about his trash claim.
City Operations and placed on file, please.
Claim appeal from Brandy Day for $8,890 in trash fees at 1040 North Cedar Street.
Committee on City Operations.
Communications from Greg Campanen regarding code compliance violation notice.
Committee on City Operations.
And notice from the Liquor Control Commission for Harry and Sherry, Inc., transfer of ownership of an STD license at 428 South Washington.
City Operations Committee.
And another notice from the Liquor Control Commission, Schulte's Bar, a request for transfer of all stock interests with a Sunday sales permit at 813 to 819 South Washington.
Committee on City Operations.
We are to motion of excused absence.
We do have a member absent. Is there a motion to excuse? Councilmember Betts. Motion to excuse Councilmember Spitzley. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. We are to remarks by council members. Councilmember Jackson.
I just want to apologize to my colleagues for assuming that you guys read that thing. I shouldn't have assumed that. Sorry.
Thank you, Councilmember Jackson. That's it.
Remarks by the mayor.
Mr. Mayor? Sorry, your time's up.
Twice in one meeting. I also want to thank the Teamsters for, at the beginning of the year, agreeing to have a continuation contract. Thank you to council as we worked through the budget and made sure there were dollars there, and now we've been able to reward them retroactively. I thought that was a wonderful show of our employees, so I want to thank them. It was mentioned in the letters, for those who didn't know, we appointed Heather Taylor to the Lansing Housing Commission. That's not something council approves, but I wanted to make sure you knew about it, as I know in the last few years we've all had lots of discussions about the Lansing Housing Commission. She replaces Michael McKissick, who has moved to our EDC board and has already had great participation with that board this week. And finally, on McGuire Park, I want to remind everybody that we can also use some sponsorships at McGuire Park to continue to complete the that fit lot I know Brett, who is doing a great job, is also reaching out to many folks who have an interest on the south side. So Councilman Garza, some of your businesses may get a note requesting, also support. It is going to be a great fit lot down in that area. We did our Mayor's River Walk this year, and we ended in McGuire Park, and it was fantastic. It really was. So really excited about that. I'm glad you brought that up, Councilman Hussein, and Councilman Garza, who has been a tremendous advocate for the Second Ward. I know he's been excited about this, so thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Clerk.
Okay, we are to public comment on city government-related matters. That's any issues or topics relevant to the operation or governance of the city. Our first speaker is Michael Lynn, followed by Loretta Stanaway.
So with the advanced peace situation, I'm appreciating that Andy Shore spoke on that. We got a lot of insight to what's been holding this thing up. You talked about where the money might go, who it goes to. Those are all considerations of you putting the money you guys already promised into this bunch. We all know that those backroom conversations are happening. Your conversation with Devon Bogan today, we all know what happened and took place in those. We know that you don't want the Village of Lansing being a part of it. You can't control that. The bitter, small-minded nature of your personality is affecting the city by leagues that we'll never be able to recover from. It's sad that we watch young people die over and over and over again, and again we come to council and all we hear is rebuking actions that we're trying to take in order to stop this thing. You mentioned that you're talking to other people in violence prevention. Name one. Just name somebody. Just throw a name out there. Bishop Maxwell, the pastors groups. I mean, who else is doing this work? You're talking about putting money in, so I got phone calls and people have been in my office talking about, guess who called me? The mayor called me today, wanted to offer me $30,000 to do what? I don't have a nonprofit to seat it in though. So can I bring my program to the village so that he can seat this here? And I have to tell him he ain't gonna put no money in your hands coming here. That's sad. You in rooms telling people that I threatened your children. Them people coming back telling me. I'm having meetings with the mayor telling me you threatened his children. He wants to put money in my hands, but I don't even have a nonprofit. When you got people out here that's doing the work actively right now, but your little small mind, hurt ego, can't stop from all the BS to help this city. Grow up, bro. Just grow up. Just grow up, man. We got kids dying out here in the city. This whole council here, Spatafor, you did a town hall where you guys acted all concerned. I ain't heard nothing from y'all since. Nothing. I told you, reach out to me. Let's figure out what we can do. I will. Nothing. We day in, day out working on this thing. I'm getting the calls at 3 a.m. from young people getting shot at, trying to figure, what are you doing past the propaganda when y'all sat there in that town hall acting as if y'all care? You came with no solutions. You have none now. None. Don't nobody up here got no solutions for the problems going on in the city. And I would task you to let your police department know that although we've been calling for defunding, we still need them to do the job with the $50 million we gave them. So I'm also getting contacts from police officers sitting down in my office explaining to me that they know that their own department is letting us handle our own business as we asked because we said defund police. That should be a problem. I just brought this to all of y'all's attention. Does anybody up here care the police department is saying they can handle their own business? They wanted to defund us, and so they allowing these murders and assaults and stuff to go on? When we talk about defund, we want you to still do your job. Murderers and assaulters need to go to jail. I'm gonna pull a cease and desist on you, tell somebody else out there and your children.
Thank you.
That's a lie.
The next speaker is Loretta Stanaway, followed by Kelsey Hudson.
Imagine my surprise when I tried to access tonight's COW meeting on Zoom and learned at the last minute that there was no Zoom. I consider myself to be a very informed citizen, and I was not aware that the Zoom sessions were over. I thought we were going to continue them for some time for the benefit of the people who aren't yet vaccinated or comfortable coming out in public. I missed my opportunity to speak in public comment at COW because of that. I don't know that there was any public notification that Zoom was ending. Also, it'd be a nice thing if there was some public notification in advance that there's a change in the sign-in process and even that the podium is gone. I mean, sometimes people come down here with notebooks. What are they going to do with them? On the ranked choice voting, let me just say that I still think that you need to delete those second and third whereases entirely. I think that you need to talk about what expense there will be to change over the machinery. I think you need to address the issue that this leads with the primary changes to a gerrymandering issue somewhere down the line. And I think that in recognition of the communications with the chief today, the council can't direct the chief on how to conduct the business of his department. You know that. But the messages you've been sending to him are very clear to the current and present and prior chiefs. Hands off. Go easy on these criminals. Take away the tools from their toolbox. Throttle their deterrent effect. With years of staffing cuts and talk of defunding the police and coddling the criminals and lessening charges when they reduce them from felonies to misdemeanors, you're sending a message. The police have heard it. They know that your message is, let these people go because it doesn't look good for us if you arrest them. And now you're paying the price for that in the increased violence and the criminality across the city. The public has reached a point where they have made the determination that, in their opinion, the police are ineffective and that you let them be that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Kelsey Hudson, followed by Kyle Richard.
Hi there. My name is Kelsey. You can call me Kels. I am here to speak about the access to meetings. You all have benefited from not seeing the people on the other side of the Zoom webinars. There are many people here who did not get the notification to not be on Zoom. There are plenty of people who are marginalized, including folks who are disabled like myself, who need to have access to these rooms, who need to speak to people in power. The fact that you ratified those folks, you need to have another accessibility thing added to that, especially for the families who have recently lost loved ones to violence in the city. I think it's a real shame that those people aren't in the room and they need to be in the room. Their voices are powerful, and it's from them that you need to understand what is happening in the city. Up until I started listening to city councils about a year ago, this is my first in-person meeting. If I didn't do the research, didn't know what was happening, I would have no idea how to speak to power. And because I've been in those Zoom meetings, I've learned how to speak and I've learned my voice. So it's important that people who are going to be in that room know who they are, know who to talk to, what link, how to get here. Like I said, you have all benefited from not seeing angry voices and angry faces at you. So that's what I'm here to say. Black Lives Matter. Thanks.
Thank you. Next, we have Kyle Richard, followed by Aaron.
Hi there, I'm here to speak on the web access, the Zoom access. I also was not aware until today that that was gone. My main question, I guess, for the council and for the president would be, why did y'all come back without a hybrid model? Like, we've been talking about accessibility the whole pandemic, and I thought, maybe I thought a hybrid model was promised, and I guess that was wrong of me to think that. But it's 2021, right? As human beings, we need to evolve, and we learned through the pandemic that making meetings accessible brought more voices in, and accessibility and people being able to speak truth to power is important. And when you take that away, it genuinely looks like you don't want to hear it. And when you don't want to hear it, that's when we get into kind of some scary territory. And then on the defund the police aspect, I heard some language today, and I just want to just say that criminals do not commit crimes because they are inherently bad people. People commit crimes because needs are not being met. And so if we want to reduce crime in this city, we need to think about how we're going to meet people's needs in this city, rather than this punitive system that we just keep regurgitating. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Aaron, followed by Erica Lynn.
Heard a lot of talk today about a whole lot of stuff that really ain't really that important. We got kids dying every single night. We got prayer lines going. We got all kind of stuff going on because people worry about their kids and don't know if they're going to make it to the morning. So I sit here and I'm thinking, why ain't nobody addressing the kids and everything is getting pushed to the back burner about the kids and stuff? And why aren't they at the forefront of all of this? What's the holdup with making sure our babies is safe? I don't get it. And you tear gassed them and never apologized. I was down there when you did that. You never apologized. You never addressed nobody. You never did nothing. I ain't how no stand-up man act. You got kids dying every night in the city. You don't go see the parents or nothing like that, man. You got to be more of a people type of dude, man. We got money sitting around. We don't got no little leagues. Our football is dying. Our basketball leagues is dying. Y'all spent money on Aurelius Road instead of dead in the middle of the South Side where nobody got nothing to do and kids is running around. They run around with guns and just all kinds of crazy shit, man. They ain't got nothing to do. And y'all spending money and doing things everywhere else. It just don't make sense. It don't make sense. We gotta do better with these babies, man.
Thank you. And our final speaker tonight is Erica Lynn.
This has been a really tough meeting for me to sit through because I have gotten to watch the body language and the interaction between, everybody in this room. And we have been talking for a really long time about the lack of empathy, the lack of urgency that we see, and now we can literally see it. And I want to address a couple of things. Earlier, we talked about the threatening phone call. And to Councilmember Wood's point, there was probably emails that came after that they addressed that. But the fact that the inherent response was that of blame, and let's acknowledge the fact that they took some stuff off the books that makes it hard to do our job, which is literally propaganda. That is the definition of propaganda. The fact that that was the initial first response is the problem. So anything that came after that is irrelevant. So we have to understand that that goes along with the line of that we know that the defund the police rhetoric, like you like to call it, that is what is driving what we're seeing as an activity from our own police department, letting our kids die out here because they want us to, I guess, take care of it ourselves, right? That's our punishment. That's our punishment for asking you to refund the things that you took from us. We are seeing the fruits of your labor now. So now it's your job to help us put back into our community. It is not our job to keep our community safe. Yes, we do, because we keep each other safe. But it is still a job that they were paid to do. So they need to do that and do that well. Now, moving on to the advance piece. I've come here so often and I've talked about where there's a will, there's a way. And I have seen when there's a will from you all, you find a way. And I have seen a lack of urgency, a lack of empathy, a lack of emotion, but damn, I saw some emotion today. That was kind of nice. I saw a couple people get pretty upset here at a council member for trying to at least give a voice to the people. That's all she was trying to do. I appreciate Kathy Dunbar. I appreciate Brian T. Jackson for at least conversing about the fact that this was literally just urging you to support advanced peace. It's not lost on me that you talked about, we don't even know where the money is going. Why does that matter? Why does it matter where's the money going? If you believe in the advanced peace model, like I do, and you've read it, you know exactly where the money is going. It's going to an initiative that is tried, proven, and it works. So it doesn't matter if it's with people you don't like, because if the job can be done, that is where the money should go. No, you can't control it, but why would you want to? You're ill-equipped. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out what the problem is. It was a resolution to urge. We ask, what can you do? What are you here for? I have to question that way too often. It's to give a voice to us, and you had that opportunity just by urging him officially, and you couldn't even do that.
Thank you. That was our final speaker for tonight.
Thank you. At 8:09, the Lansing City Council is adjourned.